The Fair Tax Act is about to change everything in America as they abolish the IRS and usher in this new plan.
The Republican congressman from the state of Georgia, Buddy Carter, has introduced a bill called the Fair Tax Act. It calls for abolishing the IRS.
It would replace our current tax structure with a flat sales tax and would increase the tax burden on lower income Americans.
If you are a business owner, a highly paid employee, a millionaire, possibly a billionaire, things are going to get a lot easier for you to safeguard your wealth and to build something really fascinating, something phenomenal, something that you could pass down from generation to generation. No more, looking for tax loopholes. In the past, millionaires, billionaires, highly paid employees, and business owners, they were building out their entire lives around finding tax deductions so they didn't have to strike a huge check at the end of the year.
Warren Buffett still pays a lower tax rate than his secretary.
She pays at twice the rate I pay. The wealthy are definitely undertaxed.
Elon Musk are able to get loans against their stocks and live off of that. They don't even need to sell the stock to turn it into spendable money. No sale, no taxes.
Well, all that is likely going to change, but for the lower income levels, things are going to get so much harder.
A tax cut for the wealthy and a tax increase for the middle class.
In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what this is going to look like when they abolish the IRS and what you can do to position yourself to grow tremendous wealth. Today's video is sponsored by GreatCreditFast.com. If you have ambitious goals and you are looking to invest in distressed real estate, get a business loan, we would love to help you at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any negative or derogatory items in your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com, click the link in the description just below this video, schedule a free call tomorrow. Take a look at this. At first glance, it may sound great, abolishing the IRS, but many people making $40, $50, $60, $70, even $100,000 a year are calling this the biggest scam in U.S. history.
Person A makes $30,000 a year, person B makes $100,000 a year. If both of them spend $5,000 a year on food, they both pay $1,500 a year in taxes.
Which would repeal the national income tax, corporate tax, property tax, gift tax, and payroll tax, as well as abolish the IRS.
Everything that you buy, from food, rent, gas, and medical bills, will now cost 30% more. And multimillionaires and billionaires, they will barely feel it. Why? Because they don't spend their money like everybody else.
Most people have a normal job. They get a paycheck and pay income tax. But people like Morris, they make a lot of their income from investments.
I can look at my stock portfolio and I can say, I made $1 million this year. But it doesn't mean I have to pay anything in taxes.
They make their money and then invest their money. And guess what? Investments are completely untaxed. They buy a house, they rent it out. That income, untaxable. No more IRS, no more income tax. Sounds great, right? But what they don't tell you is everything that you buy will cost 30% more. Everything from food, rent, gas, medical bills, you name it, 30% more. So here's what they're pitching. No more income tax, no more payroll tax, no more corporate tax. Instead, everything will get hit with a 30% national tax. You take home 100% of your paycheck, but you're paying 30% every time you spend it. No tax deductions, no credits. Say goodbye to student loan deductions, mortgage interest relief, or business write-offs. Even rent and groceries and medical bills will be taxed at 30%. 30%. A $1,000 rent check becomes $1,300. A $40,000 car becomes $52,000. Sounds simple, right? But here's what you might be missing. They keep calling it a 23% tax. But here's the trick. That number is calculated inclusively of tax. In reality, it's a 30% markup on everything. Let me break it down. If a Big Mac costs $5, now it costs $6.50. Buying a new home, add an extra 30%. An older home, no tax. But here's something that's even crazier. But some say 30% might not even be enough. Some economists predict it needs to be 50%, maybe higher, just to fund the government. That means your everyday purchases could double in price. Let's get real. Americans are already on the brink. Adding 30% tax on top of that would be financial suicide and the greatest wealth building opportunity ever that millionaires, billionaires, business owners, and highly paid employees will capitalize on to acquire assets from those that can't afford and absorb these costs. Presently, inflation is squeezing Americans.
Inflation hit 3% for the first time since June.
Groceries, food, rent, everything is extremely expensive and at all-time highs.
A new report out today shows you are paying more for goods and services than you were a year ago.
Report indicates that the cost of food and energy continued to climb in January, hitting 3% for the first time since June of last year. Consumer prices rose 0.5%.
Look at egg prices. Look at orange juice. Look at home insurance. There's nothing that has not increased 30 or 40% over the last several years. I mean, credit card debt. It's at $1.2 trillion.
Despite inflation, Americans are still spending, owing a staggering $1.2 trillion in credit card debt.
The average American has an over $8,000 balance, paying over 24% interest on this, most of whom are making the minimum payments. Millions can't afford rent or their mortgage. Home ownership is out of reach for the middle class. My suggestion is to build as much wealth as you possibly can over the next several years to ride out this storm and capitalize on what I believe is going to be the inevitable rug pull on America. Think about how strapped the average American family is. If costs go up another 10, 15, 20%, it's game over for tens of millions of Americans right from the jump.
There is growing concern this morning over rising consumer prices. The cost of eggs and gas continuing to climb, and you can now add coffee to that list.
20% hike, even 15% hike in prices at grocery stores.
Now imagine that's 3 months, 6 months, 12 months out. Most people will not be able to hold on, and they'll be forced to sell off assets, and banks will be forced to unload bad loans. This isn't fair tax for everybody. This is top 5% of Americans are going to get filthy rich, and everybody else is going to suffer. Look at the numbers. The average American family spends 30% of their income on housing alone. And if you live in a big city, it's probably closer to 50% of monthly income goes just to shelter.
Half of renters paying more than 30% of their income on rent. 25% of people pay more than 50% of their income.
My rent's over 50% of my take-home pay.
15% on transportation, car payment, car insurance, gas. 11% on food, 7% on healthcare. But if you're somebody making $50,000, $100,000 a month or more, you have rental properties, it's going to be a different situation for you, because you're going to be able to basically pay these costs and it's going to be irrelevant. You're not going to notice the difference in your bank account. Many have stocks that they've held for decades. They have real estate holdings, paid off properties, rental income. They've had businesses. A lot of them are very well positioned for this situation. And so imagine if you have a couple $1 million and this tax starts to go into effect, you will likely be able to buy assets at a substantial discount, and people have no choice but to rent those assets back, especially single-family homes, multifamily properties. It's going to be the greatest wealth transfer in American history. Think about it. All of those investments go untouched. Meanwhile, middle-class families might make $50,000 or $60,000 per year in income. Most of what they make goes right back out to survive. They'll pay more than even before.
Was $8.25, now $6.89. Like this is some amazing deal.
For 4 chicken breasts, $10 to $11.
86% of consumers reported feeling frustrated with rising grocery prices.
Before the Fair Tax Act, a family making $40,000 a year in income would pay about 12% in taxes. With the Fair Tax Act, that will jump to 23%. Meanwhile, successful individuals, Wall Street, business owners, and investors will get a free pass. No more capital gains tax, no more investment tax. If you make money work for you, you will win. This is the biggest opportunity to grow wealth in American history. We can sit there and we can look at what's coming, or we can do something about it. Owning rental properties, positioning yourself for inflation, positioning yourself for the future, knowing it's going to be a lot more expensive and the world's going to get harder, doing something about it today is the best solution. Because if you don't, 30% of your income will go exclusively to tax. Because if you're just trading your hours for dollars, you're gonna get screwed. Countries before that saw this, saw their countries go completely underground. People will likely switch from credit cards to paying cash for everything, simply to avoid the tax. If there's more tax evasion, the government may increase the taxes even further. Because when we always look at something, in the beginning they start small. Remember, in 2020, it was just a week, 2 weeks, and then it was a year, and then 2 years. This, if it starts at 22, 23%, 30%, it's not going to end there. It's going to go to 40, eventually, 50, eventually. it's going to continue to go up and up and up. The only solution is to invest, to own properties, and to get away from being low income as quickly as you possibly can. Unfortunately, that's just the truth. Because let's be honest, once they have the grip, do you think taxes are going to be going down in the future, in 5 or 10 years, or do you think they're only going to continue to go up? Look at the historical pattern. So will the Fair Tax Act actually pass? Maybe not. But here's what we do know. Politicians will continue to push different versions of this or other versions to increase their authority. Flat taxes, VAT taxes, new tariffs. The war on income tax is not over. So let me ask you, is this actually a fair tax act or an act for the wealthy to grow even wealthier? So do I think this is going to pass? I'm not sure. What I do know is that regardless of whether this goes forward or a different version of it does pass, the rich are going to get richer. Look at in 2020, during that period where large corporations essentially benefited immensely. Small businesses, most of which were closed down, large corporations, their stock prices went up 5, 10x from then until now. In the future, it's only going to continue. And so if you are an entrepreneur or business owner, or you want to be, the next couple of years will be extremely important. I believe the top 5% of income earners, investors, business owners, they're going to be the ones that are going to see their wealth grow dramatically. And everyone else, I believe, is going to have a harder time. This is the reality. If you look at the last 5 years, that has proven to be true, and I think the next 5 years will be even more true. Let's have a conversation about this below. And if you'd like to fix your credit to position yourself for what I believe is going to be the greatest wealth building opportunity in American history, we love to help you. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any negative or derogatory items in your credit report, go to greatcreditfast.com, click the link in the description just below this video, schedule a free call for Monday, and I'll catch you next video.